Hey guys, Brandon Zerby here, and do you remember when I detailed one of the simplest, cheapest, easiest strategies to implement not only for body composition improvement, but also longevity? Over a year and a half ago, I asked you, are you restricting your feeding window? Since then, tons of new studies have come out that I'm excited to share with you today. Not only about fat loss, metabolic health, and inflammation, but regarding the optimal protocol that you should use. How short or long should that fasting window be? And what time during the day should that fasting window occur? And does it even matter? What about the optimal caloric distribution within that time window? What are the optimal guidelines for time-restricted eating? And how have my eating habits changed over the past year and a half? Well, let's get into it. Your eating window can be calculated by determining the hours between your first caloric intake of the day and your last caloric intake of the day. This is your feeding state, or your anabolic state, where you're eating, digesting, and absorbing nutrients. Oppositely, your fasting state, or your catabolic state, is where you're burning calories or energy that have been stored from the anabolic state. No eating occurs during this time, but it's where cell maintenance and DNA repair happen. And the idea is the shorter that you can reduce that feeding state and the longer that you can extend that fasting state, the more optimally your body can function. Well, nowadays, people are eating around the clock with 98% of calorie consumption coming between 6 a.m. and midnight, with the average person's eating window being 15 hours a day. That'd be like eating breakfast at 7 a.m. and a late night snack at 10 p.m. And while that's probably pretty relatable, that doesn't mean that it's healthy to be in this anabolic state throughout most of the day. That's why many studies have now tested reducing people's eating window to less than 12 hours, and the results have been almost universally beneficial. Not only can time-restricted eating help with weight loss and fat loss while maintaining fat-free mass like muscle and bone, but large systematic reviews have praised it for its benefits on blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol. And if you remember, those are my top 3 biomarkers for health that I posted about just a couple weeks ago. And if you're thinking that these benefits occur because people eat less total calories during that restricted time eating window, it's been shown that these benefits persist even when caloric intake is unchanged. So you eat the same type of food, the same amount of food, in just a shorter period of time, and then boom, pow, magic, like Disney, somehow you lose weight and your biomarkers improve. And to top it all off, even if you're not worried about weight loss, these studies have been performed within elite athletes and they've shown similar benefits. And one study that did time-restricted eating with elite cyclists, and they found benefits in body composition, inflammation, and immune health. So even if your goal isn't weight loss, TRE can still be a good tool for you too. So TRE, awesome, amazing, magic, like Disney. So now the next question becomes, what is the optimal protocol? Let's start off with the feeding window duration. So like I mentioned, time-restricted eating occurs when the feeding state is usually decreased below 12 hours, but could less hours be better? In a study that indirectly measured a 12-hour fasting window versus a 14-hour fasting window, it was found that the participants in the 14-hour fasting window had better results with both weight loss and blood sugar management. What about an 18-hour fasting window? Again, better results with weight loss, cell repair, and anti-aging effects. And what about 20 hours? Even when participants ate the same amount of calories during that 4-hour feeding window compared to the control group, they still found better results in blood pressure management, blood sugar management, and lower cholesterol levels, all while losing fat. It appears that despite how many calories you consume, the more you can narrow that feeding window and more you can extend that fasting window, the greater the results. But I should mention one problem that does arise from restricting your feeding window. The more you restrict that feeding window, the greater your feelings are going to be of hunger and desire for food. So while decreasing your window can have a whole host of health benefits, the more you restrict, the harder it is to maintain and comply. So just keep this in mind if you're interested in trying TRE. Cool, so less is better with TRE, but now does it matter when that feeding window occurs? Should I have my feeding window shifted more towards the beginning of the day or more towards the end of the day? Well, there's 2 main factors driving the benefits of time-restricted eating. So first, by decreasing your feeding window, you're more likely decreasing your total caloric consumption because you're not eating as late into the evening. Eating later in the evening usually involves more junk food, higher fat food, and more calorically dense food. So just by improving our overall eating habits, we see benefits. But second, independent of weight loss, we still see a lot of benefits from just realigning our feeding window with our circadian clock. This is because your glucose tolerance, or your ability to manage your blood sugar, is greater in the morning than in the evening. It's why those who skip breakfast may eat less total calories throughout the day, but they still don't lose weight. They increase their risk for type 2 diabetes, and they worsen their cholesterol levels. And from these 2 mechanisms, we can assume that shifting our feeding window to earlier in the day compared to later in the day should have more benefits. And we have a few studies to back this up. So one study had participants eat a 2,000 calorie meal either in the morning or the evening. And what they found is that those who ate the meal in the morning lost weight compared to those who ate the meal in the evening. The same food, the same amount of calories, just different timing of the food and different effects. Now, because of practicality, you're probably not only going to eat one meal per day, but there is another study that compares early time restricted eating versus late time restricted eating. So in both cases, they had a 9-hour eating window. The early one was between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., and the late one was between 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. And what they found was that the group that ate earlier in the day had lower average fasting glucose levels, or better sugar management. But not only does shifting that feeding window to earlier in the day have larger benefits, but it also matters when the calories are consumed within that window. For example, front-loading calories inside the window. If you give people the same 1400 calorie diet and the same meal timing, but one of the groups eats their calories earlier in the day, for example, a 700 calorie breakfast, a 500 calorie lunch, and a 200 calorie dinner, compared to later in the day, a 200 calorie breakfast, a 500 calorie lunch, and a 700 calorie dinner, the group eating their calories earlier do better with weight loss, blood sugar management, and cholesterol improvement. Meaning not only should you shift your eating window to earlier in the day, but probably your caloric consumption too. So here are my final thoughts. Time-restricted eating is a cheap, easy, simple, effective approach to not only decrease body fat while maintaining muscle, but also to improve overall markers of health like blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol levels. The more you restrict that feeding window, the better the results, but the harder it may be to maintain. And for optimal results, take that restricted window, move it to earlier in the day, and even consume more calories earlier on within that feeding window. The last time I talked about time-restricted eating, I was doing a 10-hour feeding window followed by a 14-hour fasting window. This started at 11 a.m. and finished at 9 p.m. But over the past year, doing a lot of this research, learning about a lot of the new studies that have come out, I have decided to shift my feeding window to a little bit earlier. I still do a 10-hour feeding window, but now it starts at about 9 a.m. and concludes about 7 p.m. So still that 10-hour window, just shifting it a little bit sooner. And to me, this is a beneficial and sustainable eating habit that's allowing me to be healthier and happier. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. If you did like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. It really does help out the channel. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Lastly, I offer a free health kit, which is my top 10 sleep tips, 1 whole foods plant-based recipe, and a mobility workout that you can stream on any device. That is free. There's a link down in the description for that. It also gets you signed up to my weekly newsletter, where I provide the 3 most important things I've read, watched, or listened to within the past week. All of that completely free. Link down in the description if you're interested in that. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.